it's Chatty Abby, and I'm here with Jeremy. What are we talking about today, Jeremy?
So today we're doing yet another episode on Batman the Animated Series.
Is this the last one?
No, it's not the last one. It's the second to last one.
Almost there.
So the first wacky villain is Nostromos. He is a cult leader sort of guy who's basically just a con man. He creates a whole cult for rich people to follow him because he claims that he can see the future.
Oh, I remember now.
Yep.
Yeah. I was like, Nostradamus, and I could not remember. Yeah, because he tells people, oh, be careful, you're going to have a close call later today, or in the near future, and then he'll go and try to kill them, and they'll be like, oh, you were right, I almost died.
You should be suspicious if a prophet's only prophecies are, you're going to die soon. Very sketchy.
Right. So the whole situation is brought to Batman's attention through Bruce Wayne, actually. One of his friends comes and says, hey, my dad's caught up with this creepy cult, and they're taking all his money, and I need help. So he infiltrates the cult and has to give them a lot of money to get in. And then they try to kill him anyway because they're like, you're going to mess up the plan. And, and instead he survives. So then they're like, oh, yeah, we'll take your money. Because he's like, I'm a true believer now. I survived the sabotaged elevator. Yeah. I'm trying to remember how that ends. I remember the daughter is like captured and they're gonna get all the money.
So because he prophesied financial collapse, he demands that, the guy that's in charge of the finances must give him all the money so he can keep it safe.
Yeah.
And when the guy says, no, I'm not gonna let you do that, then he tries to kill him, and then Batman shows up and saves him and stops Nostradamus because he's not very powerful. He's just a guy with a friend who's in special effects. So Batman wins.
Well, and he's got a great cult leader personality.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. And no scruples about just flat out lying to people and taking their money.
He's also bald. Just random fact.
Well, and he'd have like a whole thing up that he would do to be the prophet. It was great.
I found it so hilarious that he has a very visible harness in the back of his little cloak.
Oh yeah, and then he'd be like, "Oh, I'm hovering."
And I like the fact that they made it very visible and very obvious.
And then there's a group of older men going, oh, "Wow, it's amazing." What else did you like about it?
That was it. He's just a funny guy. Most of the episodes in this section, I just kind of cracked up laughing at how ridiculous they are.
He was a funny guy. If you just do the plot line, it's just kind of basic, but it was really entertaining. Very entertaining episode. Who's next?
So I'm not really going to go in order because I don't remember them in order. So let's talk about my favorite villains. The
Condiment King.
The Condiment King and Pack Rat.
Your trash is my treasure. Yes, Condiment King comes in and squirts fancy people with ketchup and mustard. Oh no!
And he also makes lots of condiment puns.
Yes. What's a condiment pun?
You didn't cut the mustard. You'll never catch up to me, Batman.
I thought he was funny, but I think I liked the Pack Rat a little bit better.
Yeah.
Because he comes in, the costume I thought of the Condiment King was better.
Yeah.
Because the Pack Rat comes in and he's like in a rat suit, and you're just kind of like, okay. And then he ran up to a lady, grabbed a box of jewels out of her hand, and then announces his catchphrase, your trash is my treasure. Throws the jewels on the ground, keeps the box and puts it in a bag, and then just runs around collecting random weird stuff around the mall. And I was like, okay, that's amazing. Is what he's doing even illegal? I don't know.
Well, he's technically stealing, I guess. Well, he had a machine gun.
Oh, yeah, you're not supposed to threaten people in public with guns.
No.
You do that privately. No, so, yeah. I was just like, what is he even doing? What is his plan? I don't know.
So I mentioned in one of the videos about the Batman that the Batman has my favorite Joker. And I think this episode helped me realize that I don't like the Joker in Batman the Animated Series that much. I mean, he's fun on screen, but he just comes across as just very mean-spirited, which seems like an odd thing to say about the Joker, considering he's a psychopath, but I don't know.
He's a mean psychopath. We don't like it.
I mean, because the other Joker is mean, but he's mean in a very interesting way, whereas this Joker is mean in just kind of a very snotty way, if that makes sense.
The episode was definitely gold until the Joker showed up, and then we both got a little bit bored with that episode.
When the main villain shows up and you get bored, that's not a good sign.
Not a good sign. What did you think, though? Did you not love the mom villain?
Mighty Mom, I didn't
Mighty
like...
Mom!
I didn't like Mighty Mom as much because she kind of was just like a hench person for the Joker, whereas the other two kind of went on their own crime spree. I think if Mighty Mom went around like spanking kids or something, then I would like her more, rather than just being a bodyguard for the Joker.
Because, yeah, then they showed up at the comic convention, which I guess is what the Joker was breaking into. That's the only time you see her. But I thought she was really funny because I think she's directly representing Roseanne Barr, and they like drew her to look like her and everything, and then she just like yelled at everybody. And when she was like under the mind control that made her Mighty Mom, which was her supervillain name, and then when she came out of being a supervillain, they were like, Robin made a comment like, who can tell you're like the same as when your supervillain is not. And I thought she was funny, in a different way than the Condiment King and the
Pack Rat.
Yeah, so that one was really cute and funny. The whole plot didn't make that much sense because like when you get to the end of it, because the Joker's like, I needed the trophy. It's the title that counts, and you're like, what? And I don't know.
Yeah, he's basically just like ruined these people's lives to prove that he was the best comedian in Gotham.
But he didn't even do all that so he could tell jokes. He just stole the trophy.
If he had done like a whole set, that might have been more interesting. Especially if the set was really bad. That probably would have been really interesting.
And then maybe like mind controlled the audience to laugh and then been like, see, I'm hilarious. I'm the best clown around. Or something like that. That would have made more sense. Like there's different ways you could have played it that would have been more interesting. Or, I mean, it didn't even have to be the Joker at all. But I did think it was interesting, like when you mind controlled comics to be supervillains, they came up with the Condiment King and Packer. Do you think they came up with their own like secret identities?
I think the Joker orchestrated it all because he was using the Mad Hatter tech, so he's mind controlling all of them. So I think they're basically doing what he told him to do.
So I mean, if the Joker's saying that he's the funniest around because of his jokes of the supervillains. Like, oh, Condiment King and Pack Rat, see how funny I am with these crime sprees I did?
My argument is, if you're able to make villains that are this funny, why aren't you this funny?
He just, like, smiles and just ha 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 a lot. That's, like, nothing. So, yeah. Anyway, loved them. They were really funny. What other wacky villains are there?
So... Another wacky villain that is one of my favorites is the Clock King.
Oh yeah, he's got little...
My favorite part of the Clock King episode is where, he shows up to attack the mayor and Batman's going after him. And he's like, you'll never catch me, Batman. The 11 o'clock train is always 7 minutes early. And he disappears off the side of the building and he's just sitting on a train. Superpower is knowing what's going to be early and what's going to be late.
is his superpower.
Yep.
And he's definitely very patient because there's 2 episodes with the Clock King, right?
Mm-hmm.
And both of them, he's been planning his devious plan for 7 years the first time and 5 years the second time. So he's definitely not a rampant criminal. He definitely thinks about it a lot. And Batman still gets him, even with all that planning.
Well, Batman doesn't get him the first time. He actually escapes the first time.
He does. But Batman foiled his plans. He saved the mayor.
And the second time, the only reason Batman catches him is because he resorted to using time travel devices, and Batman gets his hand on the time travel technology.
Mm-hmm. The time travel was actually pretty cool. I liked how they did that. Mm-hmm. Oh no, Batman, we've been stuck in the Batcar for 48 hours. Because even the one plan he had, which is all just to sabotage the mayor, still took like 4 days to execute and 5 years to plan. So he definitely takes his time. But yeah, Batman got him then, and then he went to jail.
Actually, Robin catches him.
Oh. That must have been why he got away the first time. Robin wasn't there. He's a funny guy, though. I like him a lot. I think it's funny that he's like the CEO of a company, and he's all obsessed with being on time and controlling everything. And then he gets sued, and it doesn't go well for him, and then he becomes a super villain after that.
There's got to be something in the water in Gotham. Anytime anybody gets overwhelmed at all, they immediately just become a psychopath and put on a funny costume.
And are just super villains.
Yep.
Which reminds me of Bullet for Bullock.
I was about to make the exact same connection.
Yeah, because that was what we said about that episode after we watched it. We're just like, his tenant is, he's a landlord, and his tenant is dirty. So he becomes a super villain. Well, I don't know if he's a villain, all right, but maybe not a super villain.
Not a super one. He's got no presentation.
No presentation at all.
He just wears like a ski mask, and he hires people to scare Detective Bullock to leave town by almost killing him, but not actually killing them.
Oh, he was just trying to scare him? I thought he was just really bad at trying to kill people.
No. He said, I told you to get out of town. I even sent people to attack you and almost kill you to convince you to leave town, and you still didn't leave. So now I gotta kill you.
I gotta kill you. And Bullock's like, oh, I was thinking about moving. He's like, I like that one a lot because I liked, the villain was so funny. I did kind of totally call it from the very beginning.
From the very first
I was like, as soon as he entered the scene, I was like, oh, that's the guy who's trying to kill Bullock.
Yep.
Because they show Bullock, like, coming in with mud all over the floor, and the guy's like, and you're just like, it just was super obvious to me. I'm like, oh, he wants to kill Bullock, like, bad, and he's gonna do it. He's the crazy person. But it was also, that whole episode was kind of along the lines of, like, a crime show, and I've seen a lot of those. I really like crime shows, so maybe that helped me, like, pick out the murderer. Like, that guy did it. And in the crime shows, there's always, like, wacky motives, and the motive of somebody trying to clean up the area and you're making it messy, so I'm gonna kill you, is something that would happen in these crime shows. You know, it's not always like I'm a crazy supervillain. But I also really enjoyed getting to know Bullock better and seeing how he can't get along with a single person and every single person hates him. I thought that was really funny. I liked that. Because he's so rude and awful to Batman all the time, so you're just kind of like, oh, he's awful. But when you see just he's awful to everybody, you're just kind of like, oh,
that's
okay.
just who he is.
He just chooses to be an awful person all the time. Don't be like Bullock, okay? He's an example of what not to be like. If you look at your life and every coworker hates you, and you can't get along with anybody, and your house has cockroaches in it, not a good start, babe. Try to clean your act up a little bit. Try smiling. Try being nice. Just put a little more effort into your personal life, because otherwise you'll have a landlord try to kill you. That's what you learned from that episode.
Vital information for your everyday life.
Run a vacuum through your place once in a while. Okay, what other wacky villains were there? There was the one who is for is this the right category? He is for hire and he traps people in things.
Yes, Wormwood, the Interrogator.
Ah, yes. And he makes these amazing puzzles, and he's not like a super villain. He's more of like a really smart guy who's for hire, and he just sets traps for people. Which the one way to get around that is it's pretty clear that Wormwood is setting you up for a trap, so just don't go to the trap, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's one way around that, because he just sets it up all perfectly and then invites you to come to his trap. And then when you're sinking into sinking sand, then he's like, tell me the answer or you'll die. And then you either die or you tell him the answer. So.
Well, they kind of set up that he didn't really know who Wormwood the Interrogator was, the first guy in the opening scene. And so he just gets this random note that tells him to come to a random location, and he's already doing some pretty shady stuff, so he's just kind of like, I don't know what to do. I don't really know what's going on.
So, I mean, that makes a lot of sense, but then Batman then knows that Wormwood's going after him, and he shows up to the trap.
Well, that's because Batman is tricking him the whole time.
Yeah, it turns out at the end that it's like all a double cross to get this other guy. And that was really cool. But in the moment, I was like, why would you go? Wormwood's like, come, Batman, I have a trap for you. And Batman's like, okay. And like shows up. And I was like, why would you do that? And then he has him in the trap. And then he's like, give me your cape and cowl. And then he does. Because he has to do 2 traps for Batman. Batman willingly shows up at 2 traps. And the first one, it's like, I was like, well, why would he even go? And then he's like, a damsel will die if you don't come, or something like that. And so he shows up, and there's like a woman gonna get run over by a train. So it's like, okay, well, maybe he felt like he had to go so that like somebody else didn't get hurt or something like that. But then the woman was a hologram. So then I was like, why would you go to the second one? That doesn't make any sense. But he like shows up to stop the bank robbery or something like that, and then he gets trapped in there, and he has to give his cape and cowl. And when he does, he has another mask on, so they still didn't discover who he was. And Wormwood, who's for hire, he was only told cape and cowl, so he's like, good enough for me, whatever.
Yeah, sure.
Which, like, I think we've established that we do like guns for hire kind of characters, where their whole motivation is just money. So once the money dries, all you have to do is take away the money or offer more money or, you know, something along those lines. And, bam, they're working for you. You know, I would think that's really great.
Well, he also gets Wormwood because Wormwood is also really curious. He's like, why do you want Batman's cape and cowl? Like, what is that going to do for you? He's like, I'll tell you that if you tell me who hired you last time. Well, I'm not going to give away that information.
I forgot about that. Yeah. So that was the whole trap, was to get him to... That's such a convoluted trap. I feel like there's other ways. But
it's funnier this way. The whole point is entertainment.
Who's the next wacky villain?
The next wacky villain is Sid the Squid, the man who killed Batman, supposedly.
I did like that one. I like that one a lot. That one was funny.
What did you like about that one?
Oh, he's this like little guy whose like big goal in life is to be a respected criminal. So instead of getting face tattoos like a normal person, he like goes out on a crime job with his friend. Well, I guess that's a normal person thing to do.
Yeah.
And he kills Batman.
Supposedly.
On accident. He's like, oh, Batman, leave me alone. And then Batman's trying to save him, and Batman falls, and he's like, then there's an explosion, and everybody thinks he died. And he's like, the beginning is he's running through like all this rain, and he's like, oh. All the respect from all the criminals was just too much to take for his little
Sid
world.
the Squid. Sid the Squid.
I didn't love how that one ended, though. Because he ends up going to jail.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, oh, and everybody's all like excited about him. And he's like, oh, I've made it. And I've reached my dream. And I just... So when I was like, well, why did he go to jail? He didn't really actually do anything. It looked like he did stuff, but he didn't. Well, maybe he like went to jail until trial and they wouldn't be able to prove anything and he'd be done.
Oh, he was also part of a bar fight. You can go to jail for that.
Yeah. Did he actually break anything, though? I feel like he was cowering under a table hiding the whole time. Because, like, the other guys attacked him.
That's what he went to jail for the first time. He was present at a bar fight.
Right, but that was okay. That was just jail. That was just being locked up. Like, at the end, he goes to, like, prison. Which is, like, those are different. Like, you go get in the lockup or the whole cell for, like, the night until they, like, process you. And then you get released till you're safe. Like, that all makes sense. Getting, like, they rounded up everybody. And then that doesn't mean you're going to actually get something, sticking. You know, so if they don't have proof or it turns out you didn't do anything or whatnot. But at the end, he's, like, in prison. And then he's all, like... I just feel like he could have, like, gone on the right path and been like, you know what, maybe the crime life isn't for me. But instead, he goes to jail and he's like, oh, I'm a big man now. And then you're just kind of like... Are you though? Like, I don't know.
That's what I thought. I thought that was really funny because he's in Gotham, so he's just programmed for failure. So in his mind, he's achieved his life dream.
By, like, going to prison with a reputation. Yeah. So there could have been a more wholesome ending for him, I feel like. But it was a funny ending, so you have that, I guess.
Yeah.
What did you like about it?
I liked the fact that the entire time, when he thinks he's getting what he wants, it always turns out really bad for him. So he figures, oh, if I'm the man that kills Batman, then I'm a big man. I've achieved my dream. But immediately, oh, you're the one that killed Batman, so you're tough, right? So if I beat you, then I'm tougher than you, right?
It, like, makes him a target for all these big bad guys. So then he ends up in jail from the bar fight. And then he ends up with the Joker, which turns out a whole lot worse. I mean, the first one, he was just going to get beat. The second one, the Joker puts him in a coffin and then dunks him into acid.
And then Rupert Thorne tries to kill him, too.
And Rupert Thorne's like, nobody could be that lucky, and he's going to kill him, too.
I think it's really funny because it ends on him thinking he's made it, but that's exactly how he feels when it first happened. So I'm pretty sure the exact same thing that happened in the episode is going to happen to him in prison. And he still just doesn't get it.
Learn anything.
Which I think is really funny. Like, you just had this whole experience. It's almost like a satire. You know, you go through this whole experience where you're supposed to have this journey of learning and growth, and you realize what you want isn't really what you need. And he's so dense that he doesn't get it. He's just that dumb.
They'll probably have him flip on Kingpin, the last
Rupert
guy.
Thorne.
Rupert Thorne, they'll have him flip on Rupert Thorne, the guy who tries to kill him at the end. And so when prison stops working out for him, he can probably just get right out. Not that he had much to actually stick on Rupert, but like, I got hired for one thing one time.
He was assaulted by Rupert Thorne.
Yeah, so he could do that. He could press charges for that. He was hired for a job in the beginning by Rupert Thorne, because Batman then shows up and goes, I followed you back to the source because I wanted to figure out who hired you or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But it was really funny. So, one more.
Okay, so the last villain in this section is Zeus, a shipping company guy who for some reason has gotten really stressed out of his job, and so he just has a mental break and believes that he is the Greek god Zeus. And everyone around him is just like shaking their head, like either humoring him or trying to beg him to come back to reality, and he thinks he's Zeus. There's nothing more to say. So when Batman comes, he's kind of like, oh, you must be my brother, Hades, the Lord of the Dead. No other mortal could ascend into Mount Olympus. Sir, I'm on your building. It's not Mount Olympus. Oh, Hades, you and your trickery. What have you come to inquire of me? Yeah, I don't know. He's just a funny guy. Did you have any thoughts on the Zeus episode?
I felt bad for his poor girlfriend.
Yeah.
She made it not quite as funny because she's like, apparently like he liked to role play Zeus before, but then she started going, he's Zeus all the time, and so apparently been like a problem for him, and then it just got way out of control, and he was lost. And then he started banishing her from
Mount Olympus.
From Mount Olympus, and then he ties her to a laser at one point. And
yeah, so if you're Zeus, you throw lightning bolts. So he has like a lightning gun thing, and then he steals a lightning laser so he can shoot things that are farther away or bigger. His plan doesn't really make any sense, but he sure has fun doing it.
And he has statues with guns inside of him for some reason. So that's funny. He's a funny guy.
Yep.
And then he was really happy to go to Arkham. So you kind of felt happy for him at the end. You just felt sad for the girlfriend because unless she wants to keep dating a crazy person who's now locked up in Arkham and very happy to be there, she'll need to move on. But also, he tied her to a laser, so I feel like that's a good sign you should break up.
Yeah.
But he like shows up at Arkham and he's like, oh, all the other gods are here. And then that whole part made me wonder, like, oh, did they actually design a lot of these villains after old Greek gods? You know, that's kind of funny.
I feel like a lot of DC characters in general are based off of mythology and religion.
If it ain't broke, why fix it?
Yeah.
So that one was fun. I like that one too.
Mm-hmm.
I liked watching the ones on this list. They're very entertaining, very lighthearted, very funny. Very good. That was a good list. Good job, babe.
Thank you. For this one, it's just having fun.
It's very entertaining.
This is a show for kids, so we should celebrate that.
I mean, it is all very kid-friendly, except in the one where the man who killed Batman, when the Joker's putting him into the acid, there's like some scenes in that one where I'm like, ooh, this is real dark. Yeah. Real dark. He like sticks his dogs on somebody. And hyenas on somebody, and Harley Quinn's like, oh, I'll get the mop, and it's, yeah. They do it all off screen, so it's really kid-friendly, but I'm like, That's probably the only dark scene, though, in, like, that whole list.
There might be more.
Other than, like, tying his girlfriend to a laser. I mean, there's some bad stuff in it. But it's really just fun. Wacky stuff. Wacky. Anyway, let us know what you think. Do you like any of the wacky villains? Did we miss any? What do you think of Jeremy's list? And anything else you want to comment or say to us if you watched all of this. If you did watch all of this, thank you so much for watching. We love you guys. Bye!